Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Wyatt's World Extra, and welcome back to another Top 10 list. Today I want to do something a little bit more on the positive end of things, so for my Top 10 list, I'm going to be going over my Top 10 favorite people on planet Earth. I would like to say that this is going to be from past and present. There are two people who are going to make this list who are no longer alive, but I will not put them on this list. So, before we hop right into the video, don't forget to use code Wyatt's World on G Fuel or Prize Picks, where you can save yourself a discount on any G Fuel products, or use code Wyatt's World on Prize Picks to sign up and get a guaranteed $50 win on your first $5 entry. Yes, you heard that right. Guaranteed. You cannot lose on your first entry. But always play responsibly, and let's get into my top 10 favorite people of all time. So, starting off this list in really no in particular order, we will begin with Terry Crews. Who doesn't like Terry Crews? Like, if you're honestly gonna tell me you don't like him and you have beef with this guy, like, I'm just gonna call you a terrorist. This guy has been a foundation in the comedic aspect of my life for as long as I can remember. Everybody Hates Chris, White Chicks, The Expandables, every Old Spice commercial I've ever seen. I mean, he's been everywhere and I've never been tired of seeing him. And I think a large reason behind that is because this guy is just so damn personable. He's just so likable. He's so nice. He's so funny. You'll see him in movies, you'll see him in interviews, you'll see him on America's Got Talent. The guy's always got a smile on his face. He's always just chatting it up with people. He's never angry. And believe me, if anybody out there has a right to be an arrogant prick, he's one of them. He's had a very successful life, but he's just not tired of being him. So shout out to you, Terry Crews, for always putting a smile on my face and sticking true to who you are. You've never changed, and I hope you never do. Moving on to the next person we have, it is Jason Momoa. Dude, I'll never forget the first time I saw this guy. I was watching Game of Thrones and I was legitimately scared of him. I thought he looked like a mean son of a bitch. Then I saw one interview of him and I was like, wait, what? That's the same guy? Dude, he's a goofball. He's a gigantic goofball. Teddy bear, gentle giant, however you want to say it. He's one of those guys that looks like one of the most menacing people you've ever seen. And then the second you hear him talk, you're like, oh. Like, not only can you appreciate the range he's got when it comes to acting, but you gotta appreciate the guy's comedy. Like, he's just a funny fucking dude. Remember when he chimed in on the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial? The guy was stoned off his ass laughing in the camera at the judge. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, this guy doesn't come off as a celebrity to me. He comes off as the most normal dude ever who just happens to be in a lot of movies. Like, I just, to me, he seems so fucking normal, and I think that's why I like him so much, because he's just like all of us. Moving on to the next person we have, it is the crocodile hunter, Steve Irwin, rest in peace. I've always said it, and I mean it, if I could have a beer from anybody, past or present, in the world, it would be Steve Irwin. Dude, this guy woke up and wrestled alligators on camera for our fucking entertainment until his job eventually killed him. Now, he didn't die by an alligator, a stingray shot him through the heart, but still, he died doing his profession to entertain us. And off the record, he was the nicest person ever. Every single lesson this guy taught you was to do good. Treat wildlife with respect, treat the earth with respect, clean up after yourself, don't abuse animals. He was a perfect role model. He was such a great dude. He was fantastic to watch. I still go back and watch his old stuff. And I think one of the best / saddest things about it all is how his kids, his two wonderful kids, are carrying on his legacy by doing the same exact thing. Not a day that goes by where I don't wish the crocodile hunter was still alive, because I guarantee you, no matter how old he would be now, 60, 70, 80, he would still be in a swamp right now with his arm down an alligator's throat. He was fearless. He was one of the good ones, and he was taken way too soon. All right, moving on. Next, we have Ryan Reynolds, someone who I do consider probably the funniest person on planet Earth. I just think every single thing that comes out of this guy's mouth is hilarious. Even when he's trying not to be funny, he is fucking hilarious. And on top of that, when it comes to his movies, I've never seen a bad Ryan Reynolds movie. Now, I'm sure they exist, but I haven't seen one. The guy can be funny, he can be serious, he can be a dick. All acting, of course, because at the end of the day, Ryan Reynolds is probably one of the more genuine people in Hollywood. The man's got, what's the word everyone uses now? Aura. And off topic of him just being a great person, I would like to incorporate that man or woman, he is the most attractive person on planet Earth. Now look, I'm not gay, I don't judge people who are gay, that's fine, your life is your life. But from a heterosexual standpoint, this guy could walk into a bar and probably pick up straight men if he wanted to. Ryan Reynolds is a goat. Next up, we have Maggie Smith, who is also known as Professor McGonagall from the Harry Potter series. She is a fucking sweetheart. Probably one of the sweetest women I have ever seen outside of her character. Like, she's so nice. She publicly displays contact information so you can write to her and she will write back to you. Now, the reason I love her so much, well, there's two major ones. One of them is because she was Professor McGonagall. She was a boss-ass bitch throughout my entire childhood. Very much reminded me of my mom. She was strict on to business, but when you were getting fucked over, she would have your back like that. And also, she loves Harry Potter. She's not like Professor Sprout, where she does an interview years later and says, any adults still watching Harry Potter need to grow up. No, she's not a bitch like that. She understands how much Harry Potter means to some people. She understands that it's some people's comfort shows. She understands that people grew up watching her movies and people idolize her off the performance that she does and how important she is to certain people's lives. She kind of reminds me of like Mark Hamill and how Harrison Ford is. You know, Mark Hamill in Star Wars, he loves it. Harrison Ford, if you bring up Star Wars, he's gonna be a fucking asshole to you. She didn't do this for the money. She did it because she loves it, and she still loves it today, and I still love Maggie Smith as much as I always have. Moving on to the next person, we have John Cena. Look, dude, I grew up watching this guy for like 15 years of my childhood. He was my Superman. He was my hero. I understand as an actor, at least in my personal opinion, not very good. Like, he doesn't have range at all. He can play one character. He has one voice, and that's pretty much all he has to offer. I'm also not talking about his interviews, where he's pretty robotic and he can be pretty the Rocky, where he just doesn't say anything outside of his comfort zone because he doesn't want people to be mad at him. But when I hear the name John Cena, and when I initially see John Cena, that's not the John Cena that I see. I see this John Cena. And that'll be the John Cena that I always see, meaning whenever I hear John Cena is gonna make an appearance somewhere, whenever I hear John Cena is gonna be on wrestling, I am always going to pay attention to it because I want to see John Cena. And it's kind of funny I'm talking about him this way because, you know, you'd think these people on the list, I would like them personally, but this is the only guy that it's kind of opposite. I mean, I like him personally because John Cena is still John Cena, but John Cena the wrestler and John Cena the person, they're not the same guy. But the entertainer, the wrestler, the WWE John Cena, that will always be one of my favorite people I have ever watched in my life growing up. All right, the next person we're moving on to is the other person who is sadly no longer alive, but it is none other than Minnesota icon Prince. Now, I get it right away. If you're not from Minnesota, you're not going to agree with this. You're not going to feel this. But if you are from Minnesota, you will understand 100% why he is on here. This guy was Minnesota. He was all for Minnesota. He fucking loved Minnesota. Lived here his whole life, and anytime he got a chance to give this state exposure, he took it. Why do you think Prince, as a multi-millionaire, hopped on his bike and would just bike to Dairy Queen without any security guards to get a fucking ice cream cone? Because he loved Minnesota. He loved the people here. This guy would be bored on a random Friday night at his house in Chanhassen, and you know what he would do? He would call his band up, get on a bus, and drive around to different shows where random people were playing music, and he would show up and just play a fucking song with them. Can you imagine that? Your concert being crashed by Prince? You wouldn't care. This guy loved what he did. He loved everybody around him. He loved the state he lived in. And I can firmly stand that there will never be a more iconic Minnesotan ever than Prince. Next person we have on here is none other than Shaquille O'Neal, Shaq. I think it's pretty common knowledge at this point that not only is Shaq one of the nicest people ever, but one of the most generous people ever. So obviously everybody knows Shaquille O'Neal is the iconic basketball player, the Hall of Famer, one of the greatest centers of all time. And that might be enough to make people like Shaq in itself, but what you don't see outside of the basketball, or what a lot of people don't see, is, like I said, how generous and nice he is. He will never ever turn down a fan for a picture, no matter where the fuck he is. If this guy is in Walmart and he sees a mom checking out with like 3 or 4 kids and no other person there, he will pay for her shit. The guy will be walking around a store and see a kid staring at a PS5. Shaq will just buy it for him. Like, part of me thinks that it's the kids he cares a lot about, which just makes it the better because obviously kids are gonna be the future of the world. But more importantly, he doesn't need to do any of that. Like, Shaq doesn't owe anybody shit. Just got a good heart. He is just flat out a good dude. He's one of the most likable people I have ever seen. Next person we have is Jim Carrey. Now this one is very, very simple and to the point. For one, he is one of the most iconic comedians of my childhood, of my life. But for two, much like Ryan Reynolds, I think he is just flat out one of the most down-to-earth Hollywood celebrities we've ever seen. This guy wants nothing to do with Hollywood other than the fact that that's his job. Matter of fact, he will advocate against Hollywood. He knows how evil it is. He doesn't go to them parties. His name is never being thrown around in trafficking. The guy is never in trouble. He's not hitting people. He's not hurting people. He has always just minded his own business and done his own thing. And that specifically is why I have always fucked with Jim Carrey so much. And ending this list, we have Eminem. Come on, Eminem, like, if you don't look at his music, I know his music is not for everybody. His music is very raunchy. Lately, it's been very political. I actually don't think his music's been good for a few years, but outside of music especially, Marshall Mathers, Eminem. The guy is hilarious. He's extremely personable. He's extremely likable. He's not at all who you would think is the guy who is behind his songs. Like, yeah, he's still raunchy, but it's good comedy. Not to mention the guy can also act. He's been in a few different movies, and he's always really good in them. He kind of plays the same person. He's always very serious, but he's believable. And now going on to probably the best part about Eminem is you look at the life that he has had, you look at the rap career he went through, you look at all the different paths he could have taken, and he chose to just sit on $100 million and be an excellent father to his daughter, as well as taking on another kid, and I think another one who aren't even biologically his own. Like, for someone so evil, so angry, so scary, Eminem's a pretty down-to-earth dude who takes a lot of pride in being a father. Always loved Eminem. And that is gonna do it, ladies and gentlemen, for my top 10 favorite people on planet Earth, past or present. Let me know on this list where you agree, let me know where you disagree, let me know some people who you think I left off that you would have put on. In the meantime, though, I'm gonna get this edited so you guys can watch it on time. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, and as always, I will see you in the next video.